So, the new Five Nights at Freddy's Character Encyclopedia is rough. It has some ugly pictures, some aren't even appropriate, some characters get them, some don't. It's filled up with pages about characters who aren't even characters, and yet doesn't give major characters a page. There's a lot of information that's just, wrong, and there's a lot of filled padding, like word fluff repeated to pad a page. So yeah, it's rough. If you're buying this to get a grasp of the characters or learn anything you might have not picked up from the games, you're gonna be out of luck on that front. But don't take my word for it. How about I read you some of these pages and we deconstruct them together? Also, I'm using the leaked pictures, but it has been confirmed that these are from the official book. No coming in later and fixing them, so they're correct. Also, I wanted to add a note here. This is all just for fun. So if it seems like I'm being too hard on the book, I'm just having fun with it. I'm just trying to make a joke out of this. And considering that the book itself is a product you have to pay for, having a sort of healthy critique is not a bad thing. Keep that in mind. Another quick note. You might notice sometimes in the video where I sound a little different, and that's because when I first recorded the script, a lot of it was me making comments and quips on certain sections but not reading the sections out. But that didn't have enough context, so what I'm going to do is have myself reading out the small clips before I make the quip about them. So if you hear a sort of discrepancy in the recording, that's it. Now let's begin. Okay, let's start with Foxy. Okay, one of the things that I need to note right off the bat is in this introductory paragraph. Although Foxy has appeared in all of the games so far, he's a little different from the other core animatronics because he has his own stage, the Pirate Cove, and he looks and talks like a pirate. He's also out of order, with visible damage to his body, and his jaw, with its rows of sharp teeth, hangs loose. He doesn't join in on the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza theme song, and Freddy sings the lines introducing Foxy. Am I wrong? I don't think that made it into Help Wanted. I thought that was unused content, but maybe I'm wrong. I still think that is a very weird thing to bring up in a character introduction. Like, they could have mentioned so much else about Foxy, like how Foxy runs, or the fact that his patch lifts up and down, or perhaps one of his other appearances. No, we're gonna mention that, oh by the way, Foxy doesn't appear in the Freddy theme song. Wait a minute. I swear Foxy does sing in the Freddy theme song.
Finally, there's Foxy, one eye and a hook for a hand. He hangs out over in Pirate's Cove. Now you've met all the members of the band.
Okay, I'm gonna leave that one up in the air. Let me just go on to the actual problem with this page. Why are two pictures the same picture? I mean, one of them Foxy's head slightly turned, but those are exactly the same picture. You could have gotten a third picture, come on. Why are these their own pages? What a waste of usable space. You could have at least made them to be picked out so you could put them up like posters, or back to back for the same reason. Or at least have a little text explaining where they come from. Here's the Stitchwraith page. Shockingly, it has a better picture than the logbook, and it has a new picture, unlike many of the other characters, like, say, Foxy. Let's see, since they don't understand what's happening to them, they accidentally guide the Stitchwraith to kill others with its agonizing touch. Okay, here's the inaccuracies. So they do accidentally kill a couple of people, but Jake realizes what's going on and takes care to stop it, leading to him wanting to collect Andrew's haunted items. This makes it sound like they're just walking around killing everyone. When Andrew's soul is released from the Stitchwraith, the agonizing touch vanishes with him. I could have sworn Eleanor took the agony out of Jake, not Andrew. In fact, they actually show her absorbing it from him after he pushes Andrew out of their body. He traps Eleanor inside the Stitchwraiths and allows it to shut down in a ball pit within a derelict restaurant before moving on himself. He doesn't move on. He and the other kids haunt the ball pit. Spring Bonnie. Why is there such a big pause between the A and anyone? And why does it say a man was chased into the suit? You don't have to be vague. We get it confirmed that it's Afton, so why leave this up in the air? Twisted Chica, a character who isn't in the books or the games, just has a little merch on her, has her own page. Her only fact is that Charlie speculates she might exist. At one point, Charlotte Emily speculates that a chicken clutching a cupcake to its grotesque chest might be hidden in the same place as the others. This isn't Pokemon. You don't just hallucinate in a pit and then the world turtle appears. Her bib still has the same Let's Eat slogan, obviously. Well, obviously compared to what? Toy Chica doesn't have that. Glitchtrap. I feel like you could have gotten better pictures, but I digress. First of all, Glitchtrap wasn't in the flesh. Virtual Springtrap was. If you can give Dark Springtrap his own page, and that's the cutscene Springtrap from Sister Location, you can give Virtual Springtrap one too. He's technically not in the Prankster either. Things happen like what happened in Help Wanted, but there's actually no sign of Glitchtrap, so I don't think I'd count him being there. Glitchtrap is actually a virus that manifests itself in the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience, and not your normal sort of computer virus. No one seems to know how he got there. No. The game says he was on some old circuitry that they received from their clients. There's also a huge amount of space under this paragraph, by the way. Oh, yeah, these things also got a page. So, if you don't recognize what these are those little statue heads in Sister Location that don't do anything. I think they maybe squeak if you click on them. The paragraph is just total nothing. The human heads appear in the primary control module in Sister Location. There are 3 of them fixed onto poles. 2 of them blink, while the third appears to be asleep. They reappear in the Sister Location office in Ultimate Custom Night. The human heads are the only characters in the Circus Control who appear to be actual animatronics, as one of them shows signs of movement. It's possible the others are just toys, but then in the world of Freddy Fazbear, who knows what might come to life? Buddy, you're the book who's supposed to be telling me. Stop baiting characters that have no importance and tell me about the actual cast. Okay, so they got a page, Twisted Chica got 2 pages, and the Sun and Moon get 1 apiece. Normally, I'd say that's justified, but in this case, you couldn't squeeze out a little more Sun and Moon, really? Or a better picture of the sun and an actual picture of the moon? Also, what are these lazy taglines? He's pretty bright. Good night, children. No, he's pretty bright, but now nighty-night. Sunny side up and the dark side of the moon? Okay, that one kind of actually works. Like Sun, Moon is also a candy mascot for Moondrop Sleepy Time Candy, which sounds more than a little sinister. Once the power to Superstar Daycare has been shut down, Moon moves around the Pizzaplex. In particular, you need to watch out for him when the lights shut down every hour. Good job on the word repetition. They waste Moon time on that and not the part about him kidnapping Freddy. Also, the inconsistency of which pages reference the books and which don't are quite noticeable here, since Moon has technically been in 2 Fazbear Fright stories. Glamrock Freddy. I'm like 50-50 on these taglines. This one, don't be afraid. No, really, don't. He's nice and friendly. It's not like Shattered Freddy is one of the scariest things in the entire game.
Superstar Gregory.
Well, actually, no, because it didn't make it into the game. Again, we've got the 2 of the relative same picture approach, and the third picture is pretty dark. My problem with this page, though, is that it almost says nothing about Freddy's character. It's like, he can hold birthday cakes and piñatas. He might also go aggro in parts and services. But it doesn't say things like, Glamrock Freddy is loyal to a fault and sets his mind to protecting Gregory and helping him escape the Pizzaplex, even though it goes against his orders. Like, you know, the actual character. So Vanessa and Vanny are confirmed to be the same? What a shock! I had no idea. Well, they get stuff wrong here too. If you complete the Curse of Dreadbear DLC and wear the rabbit mask and hold the Glitchtrap plush, you can hear her voice. No one suspects anything. Don't worry, I'll be ready, and I won't let you down. It'll be fun. She's been corrupted by Glitchtrap. While we assume the voice in Help Wanted is Vanessa, it's a different voice actress, which means not confirmed yet again. I like how this book isn't willing to say that Afton is Springtrap, but will confirm that Vanessa is Vanny. While Gregory is in there, Vanny seems to replace Vanessa. They appear to be the same person. I hate when FNAF says things like, they appear or they seem to be. Like when the logbook said that Fritz the Goldfish seemed to be unrelated to Fritz the Night Guard and the Dead Kid. Also, again, absolutely no description about character, events in the game, etc. This is a character encyclopedia. It shouldn't be this brief and then have a whole page blocked up with pictures. especially when the pictures aren't great. The Vanessa picture actually looks good, but the Vanny ones are pretty rough. Golden Freddy, oh god, that's an In Russia joke. Also, the whole page is kind of empty. The mysterious Golden Freddy appears frequently in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's. He looks like other versions of Freddy, except for his yellow fur and missing eyes. He's got a microphone and everything, but he can be hard to see. Now, see, it says here that he appears frequently in the world of Five Nights at Freddy's, but it only mentions him in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 2, and just mentions him slumped on the side of the room. It doesn't go into any other detail. Why not mention the cutscene at the end of Ultimate Custom Night? Many people aren't going to get that far, it's not a big spoiler. Say hello to so far the only entirely accurate page. Well, would you look at that? Henry got a redesign off camera. He no longer looks like William, he now looks closer to the assumed fan interpretations. I wish some of the other characters would have had updated pictures. Initially, my problem with this page was going to be this last paragraph, which is actually very confusing. But after reading through the whole thing, I see that it is instead a mess. Henry's entire page is actually written very, very poorly. Now, if you don't mind me reading it to you in full, and along the way I will explain the problems with it. Henry, the voice of reason. Well, there's problem number 1. Okay, I'm joking. The instructional tapes left for the manager of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place deal with how to salvage animatronics. There's also a recording of the same man musing bleakly on all of the crimes that have dogged the Fazbear establishment and the person who committed them. Small souls trapped in prisons of my making, now set to new purpose and used in ways never thought imaginable. This indicates that the speaker helped to build the animatronics. He vows to undo what has been done and heal this wound, a wound first inflicted on me, but then when I let bleed out to cause all of this. And the new pizzeria was part of his plan. Let me tell you some of the main problems here, okay? First of all, you introduced him as Henry. You don't have to keep pretending like you don't know what his name is. We know what his name is. You can call him Henry. Secondly, you're not telling us about him. You're just telling us verbatim about this tape. Basically, this tape from the game, you just stretched that out and planted it into this book, instead of actually talking about the character. And again, this book deals with him in the games and in the actual novels. In fact, it mentions him having a novel appearance in the Silver Eyes. Weirdly, it doesn't mention the Twisted Ones or the Fourth Closet, when he was in the Fourth Closet at least, or mentioned heavily there. So it's weird that basically what has happened is they have just taken maybe 2 cutscenes and then they have turned that into words. And because they've done that, it makes this seems... If someone had no idea of the cutscenes and read this, they would find this very weird. It's very disjointed. I'll continue. His final resting pizza place. In the final message from this man, we learn that his daughter is the soul inside the puppet. The only name he mentions is Elizabeth, which is how he addresses Scrap Baby. That is a weird thing to bring up. Let me just deconstruct that little thing there. Okay. First of all, Charlie Emily on her page says that she is the puppet. In fact, frequently her name is mentioned, so I have no idea why it's not mentioned here. It's not like it's a secret. It's not like they don't want to confirm that Charlie is the puppet, because in another page they do confirm that. And the fact that you just randomly say, the only name he mentions is Elizabeth, which is how he addresses Scrap Baby. That's a weird aside to put right there. An aside like that normally wouldn't be a big deal, but where it is makes it kind of confusing for the reader. He also says, for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, old friend. He and William appear to have been friends and colleagues. The name established for him in the FNAF books is Henry Emily. He declares his intent to remain in the pizzeria as it burns. And here is the problem. And this is the problem with this page, and this is the problem with the entire book. I already mentioned the problem before, but let me reiterate it. So, this entry is not about a character from the Five Nights at Freddy's series. It's not about Henry Emily. It's about a character from a very specific cutscene. And it's just basically a translation, novelization of that cutscene that's been planted here. Because elsewise, it wouldn't have taken them this long to bring up things like, it appears that Henry and William might have been friends and colleagues. Well, maybe you should mention that because it might appear to be that, but it's absolutely confirmed to be that if you looked at any other source material outside Pizzeria Simulator's 2 cutscenes of him. And I think that this page right here sums up every problem with the entire book, and that's just sheer laziness, because whoever wrote this didn't do any research on FNAF. They just watched a couple of cutscenes and just threw together some vague suggestions, almost explaining those cutscenes, but not actually explaining them. Also, this explains why they don't mention Charlie Emily, because in that cutscene he doesn't say her name. So even though Charlie Emily is confirmed to be the puppet in another section, even though it's clear it's her, even though her picture is right here, they don't know who she is. So they just put down, he mentions a daughter, but he doesn't mention her name. He mentions Elizabeth. She's just some other character, you know? I didn't mean to get this pumped up about this, but this is my second time reading this out and my second time recording this, and I'm actually starting to get a little peeved at how lazy some of this was. And here we are on one of my favorite characters, Eleanor. Eleanor closely resembles Circus Baby, but she is a bit taller. Is that the only difference you noticed? Also, does that mean Eleanor's over 7 foot tall? Eleanor later emerges as one of the main villains of the whole Fazbear Frights series. Huh. No, she is the big bad. Also, they give her so little context to what she actually does. Like, her main gimmick is stealing identities, and they just don't mention that? Also, she doesn't really go up against Jake. She tricks him, they squabble, and then it's Detective Larson, the other main lead, who ends up really going head-to-head with her. Also, the Stitchwraith page says where she ends up, trapped in the Stitchwraith, omitting the part about her being stuck in a bad memory. So it's not a spoiler, but Eleanor's page doesn't have that here. Charlie's page is a mess. It talks about game Child Charlie, while only showing pictures of adult book Charlie. Not even Charlie's child form from the book. Here's a few pictures I have on hand. It also does confirm that the puppet is her, something that the Henry page had trouble committing to. Other than that, the pages just verbatim tell you what you see in the games, like this. Charlotte's spirit lingers on as more spirits are still trapped inside metal prisons, and Afton is still present, which is why she is still active in Pizzeria Simulator inside of Lefty. She's still haunted because she's still haunted. Also, for some reason, they refer to her constantly just as Charlotte, even though, like in the books, she's frequently called Charlie. Also, again, the book goes back and forth on whether it wants to acknowledge the books or not, especially since it has book pictures but isn't about book Charlie. It does say that Charlie is human in the books, though. Okay, here's a good one. Bon Bon is a girl, but Bonnet is the first Bonnie variation who is a girl. Why do the skins get as much page space as major characters? Especially when they're pretty much nothing but fluff. In fact, let me take a look at that. What's so ridiculous about this is most of this page is describing what Toy Freddy looks like when we have a picture of him. See, here's what you probably should have done with the skins. You should have probably made a page for every animatronic that has skins and just put all the skins on them. Here's all Foxy skins. Here's all Toy Freddy skins. Okay, here is a fun one. Toy Chica's beak is miscolored in this picture. How did that slip by? Wait a minute. This line. Toy Chica still has teeth in her beak. Is she secretly a dinosaur or something? Oh dear. Elizabeth. Bringing new meaning to the phrase, spoiled child. I don't think I actually need to say this. Well, yes, I do, because I did get some comments on my Elizabeth video. Or no, on my William is an abusive father video. But Elizabeth is not shown to be a spoiled brat in the games or the books. That's just a popular fan interpretation, usually to make Michael and the Crying Child's situation seem even more tragic. If you take the books into consideration, it shows William being physically abusive towards her, not spoiling her. I think it might also come from Circus Baby's portrayal, but regardless of what she's like, I've talked about her lunges in character at length. Elizabeth Afton is only portrayed how we see her. Something this book should know, since it just verbatim writes out the exact cutscenes from Sister Location while adding nothing else of substance. Also, Elizabeth Afton got new pictures, but they're actually kind of goofy looking. Okay, I've been going on long enough, so I'm going to finish this with one last page. Mike and Michael Afton. They're framed like the sun and moon pages, with Mike's page having a picture of the office from Fnaf 1, and Michael Afton's having two small pictures, one of his sprite from Sister Location Custom Night, with one of his deteriorated sprite underneath it. Mike's tagline is, "Don't let them in," and Michael's tagline is, "They got in." Mike is a security guard working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Armed with little more than a few cameras, a half-drunk soda, and a fan to beat the heat, Mike's gotta outwit a band of metal monsters trying to make their way into the office. All on a limited power supply. Once those lights are off, it's game over. In Sister Location, the hand unit is marked to be used by Mike. Could this be the same Mike from those long nights at Freddy's? Well, there's only one thing we know for sure about Mike, and that's that he's made a pretty poor career choice. On the bottom is this little sticky note lore tidbit. It says, Mike has broken 6 of Freddy's Big 10 rules. I'll let you guess which ones. And then there's a little image of that list of rules from Fnaf 1. Now on to Michael Afton. Michael Afton is the son of William Afton, the brother of Elizabeth Afton, and a former technician at Circus Babies Rentals. In Sister Location, we see him going into the facility to find his sister. His father told him right where she was, but he didn't tell him what she has become. And Michael finds himself at the mercy of a band of animatronics with sinister plans for him. Lore tidbit. While Michael is a dedicated worker, you would have to be to keep going back to robots who want to turn you into a pair of footy pajamas. He would rather be chewing Super Bubble double-decker gum and tanning on a sandy beach. But he might find himself getting warm somewhere else. Okay, that's not perfect, but I heard people saying that having a Mike or Michael page would be too spoilery, so I just put kind of what's 100% confirmed in the games into it. And yes, I put it in there, because I wrote these pages, because neither Mike nor Michael have a page in this book. I don't even need to explain how ridiculous that is. That page I just read to you, it's not great, but it's the minimum standard for who might be the main character of the series, other than Afton. Oh, sorry, I mean the man who ran into Springtrap. None of these entries actually say anything significant about the characters they're talking about, so there's really no reason to read most of them. Others are, as I said, wrong, and wrong in ways that someone who did even the slightest bit of research would have known. That's why this book is lazy, because you had one job. Read Wikipedia and condense it, and they didn't even do that. Likely, it was written by someone who had no idea about FNAF, because the focus on characters is random and unbalanced. They also must have had a limited amount of pictures to use, since some are, wow, new pictures, and others are really poor renders. And many of the pictures are very similar. I definitely assume whoever wrote this book was basically told to watch the cutscenes and read book summaries and write that down in a new summary. But they did a really slapdash job. And here's the thing, I'm not necessarily putting it on the author themselves. Probably just like Scholastic was like, hey, you want to do a book? Here, watch these 3 games and just like sum up what you saw in them and put them into a book because we're about to go sell it. I think the reason this book upsets me so much is because if I was a kid who was really into FNAF, I would love a book like this. I would love a book that just had pictures of all the characters and went into the little tidbits about them and totally explained the characters. That's an especially useful tool for like an aspiring writer to have. And the fact that they were so lazy with this just so they could sell it for money is just a shame. It's not just because it's FNAF. If it was any series, this would be a shame. Alright, so that's where I'm going to be ending it now. I might do a second video, but for now I think I've covered everything that I have to. Thank you for watching, I hope you had some fun with this.